for nothing will be impossible with God. I don't know if you noticed the incense smells a little bit different tonight, but it's pure frankincense, which is always a privilege to use on a feast day, and especially as we approach Christmastide. So today I had a fairly theological message prepared until this morning. My 5-year-old daughter came to me in the kitchen very earnestly saying, "Daddy, why did Adam and Eve eat the poison?" Now, she didn't know that would be the reading for tonight, but the reason why she asked me this is because she had an Advent coloring book, and this happened to be one of the first pages. And so I explained to her, well, first of all, what would you say to her in that situation? Why did Adam and Eve eat the poison? Why did they do that? So I answered her question, and I realized as I was driving here, my mother-in-law, when she was going to church, a Baptist church, the pastor would always give a children's sermon before he spoke to the adults. She said, I always paid attention to what he said to the children because it was much better than what he said to us. So perhaps if I tell you some of what I shared with Alessia, it'll be better than what I had already planned to share with you beforehand. So let me just say this. The first thing I said to her is that, well, they didn't eat poison, in fact. Actually, what they saw from the tree was created by God, and that itself was good. So she sat down at her seat to eat her breakfast, and I said, have you ever seen someone go and take a treat from the cupboard before your mother said you could have it? And she looked at me very earnestly and said, no. That was an unfair question. Of course, she doesn't want to incriminate herself or her sister. So I put it this way, I rephrase. Well, imagine a little boy who was given a present under the tree, but he decided to open it before Christmas. Can you imagine that happening? And then he decided to wrap it up, and he hoped nobody would notice. Do you think his parents would notice? Oh, yes, they would, she said. And would that be good for him? Would that make Christmas better for him or worse? Worse, she said. You see, so it is when we grasp after things before they are given to us. And then I explained to her, you see, the reason why a little boy might do this is because, yes, he wants that present, but he doesn't believe that it will be better later on. His parents said, you need to wait. If you don't wait, Christmas will not be as fun. And he didn't believe what his parents said. And that's how the serpent spoke to Adam and Eve. He's the one who put poison in them because they believed the lie that waiting will not give what's best for you. God does not want what's best for you. So this she understood. And so it just happened to be that this is a day in which her older sister designated would be a fast day for her and her sister. This would be a no fruit day so they could have treats later on. And so to help her understand a little bit more further how poison tends to enter into our souls, into our thinking. It's very subtle. We often don't realize it. We don't tell ourselves that we don't believe what God is saying, but it comes out in other ways. So our big sister said, okay, today you're going to fast from fruit, and if you do, you can have this treat. It's an Advent routine she devised this year, very creative. And so basically, in the garden was a little fast from eating fruit. But here's the problem. Just as fruit still looks good to you right now, for them, they would still be hungry for that fruit they didn't have. And so then they have two choices. You can be like Bob, who says, I still want that fruit. Yes, I know I have nuts and bread, but I can't stop thinking about I want that fruit, complaining. Or you can be like Jane, who says, that fruit still looks good, but thank you, God, for this nut and this bread. Thank you for these nuts and this bread. Thank you that you provided for my needs. I know that you will give me this fruit when I'm ready for it. Who's going to be happier? Well, that would be Jane, she said, right away. Right? And so it is with the Blessed Virgin Mary. She shows us the way to avoid the poison. We have a new Eve. Yes, of course, O Lord, clearly he's the new Adam. He is the giver of grace. But we have an example for us about what it means to be receiving grace. Yes, for God's glory, but also for our good. We need grace to be able to not complain this way, to be able to be willing to see God in the light for who he truly is. But of course, the Blessed Virgin Mary, All Holy Mary, isn't just an example for us, but she is with us. She walks with us as an intercessor to enable you to receive the grace that she received. She became the new Israel, the example of the people of God that never was in the promised land. And she becomes the new Eve to bring to full circle what God has always called his people to be. And even though you and I have received that poison into us many times over and over, and perhaps it still comes out, but she becomes through us the one who works that poison out of us by enabling us to receive the grace that she always received. For she was immaculate, like our first parents, without sin, but she maintains that throughout the course of her life to be the new ark of the new covenant and to be the one who enables us to be the new Israel of God. So what do we celebrate today? We celebrate what was said so poetically in a medieval hymn. Mary the wheat sheaf, Christ the living bread. Mary the rose tree, Christ the rose blood red. Mary the font, Christ the cleansing flood. Mary the chalice, Christ the saving blood. So even as the Blessed Virgin Mary received Christ with her yes, she enables us to come to this Eucharistic feast prepared to receive grace, even as she did. This, brothers and sisters, is the hope of the human race. This is our hope. Let us receive this new feast as ones who are willing to wait and trust in the ultimate goodness of our saving God.